and welcome to good evening and this council meeting on the 5th of September 2023. And as you will have heard, this meeting is being recorded for publication on the Thatcham Town Council YouTube channel. Apologies for absence. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies received from councillors John Boyd, Jeremy Cottam, Ian Cottingham, Simon Pike and Stephanie Stevenson.
Thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest? Okay. Moving on, public question time. Have you received any questions?
None received, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. We need to take the minutes of the meeting on the 31st of July, 2023. Those, Councillor Jeffrey.
Mr. Mayor, I propose to take them as a true record.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Do councillors need a bit longer to read them, or we have to vote on that? Yep, okay. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Matters arising, Madam Clerk?
Nothing from me, Mr.
Right. So that takes us to the Mayor's and Deputy Mayor's reports. So yes, this is mine. August was indeed a much quieter month after a very busy July. I'll pop that July one in at the end as it missed the meeting last time. The Hope, Strength and Courage calendar, which has very successfully been launching money for cancer care locally under the guidance of Karen DeMonte and her family. It was great to be part of that event to help them launch the calendar this year at the British Legion in Newbury. Just a couple of things in August, the Photography Society barbecue. Yeah, I was most put out. There were 30 photographers there and I had to take my own picture. And then 17th of August, very briefly joined the Thatcham Youth Fun Day there. There were a whole range of activities going on over a number of days involving crafts and sports and visiting reptiles. I know Councillor Hart was very much involved in those activities. Yeah, it was great to see how many kids were involved and really enjoying themselves at that particular event. Moving into September, we were invited to Reading Pride to be part of the leading group of what was a really significant procession through the town centre. You can see Newbury Pride and of course Newbury Pride in Thatcham that we're working on at the moment are relatively new events. Reading Pride has been going on for some time and has influence over the whole county. So as you see there, yeah, we had 4 mayors, an MP and a sheriff in that picture. Hi, Sheriff. Yeah, the procession wound its way through the town centre in a sort of blaze of colour and excitement, and then ended up in a big event at the end. So that was very exciting to be part of that. 3rd of September, closer to home, the Rotary Duck Race. Great to be part of that. As you can see, the photographer said, just juggle with some rubber ducks. So that's what we were doing in that picture there, yeah. So you can see the, what was it, 3,000, 4,000?
5,000, Mr. Mayor.
5,000.
Wow. Well, actually, I have to say 4,999. Because we ran out of ducks to renumber. So I apologise to anyone who bought number 5,000.
The amount of planning that goes into that event quite astonished me talking to the organising team in the background. They actually have to go through and audit all all the numbers and make sure they're there, and they take hours and hours doing that. So most impressed, and they raise a lot of money for charity.
They get all the ducks lined in a row.
14th of September, supported our local Amdram group, Cat's Modern Time Music Hall. And yes, they let me on stage very briefly, which was fine. They let Councillor Cole on stage for a large part of the evening. And he appeared on one occasion as the devil, and on another occasion as a Nazi. And like Anglo-German relations by several decades, I think. But yeah.
Mr. Mayor, could I just clarify, as this meeting is being recorded, and with Prince Harry in mind, it was a German Luftwaffe officer, not a Nazi, a respectable member of the German armed forces during World War II.
Thank you for that. They were, of course, all comedy sketches, and what an excellent show that was. And great that we have that excellent group in our midst. 17th of September, the One Community Cricket and Family Fun Day at Wash Common. Yes, as it says there, it was very damp. It started off okay, but then suddenly the heavens opened and everybody dashed for cover. Nevertheless, it was a great event. Lots of community groups out there. Playing exotic comestibles and all sorts of things. So that was a really good day too. 21st of September, I was invited to the second birthday of Vintage Adventure, which is a church-led group for older members of the community, where they eat a lot of cake and dance and do a lot of exciting things. So that was their second birthday cake there, and we had an excellent afternoon. I haven't got any pictures of me dancing there. I thought it was safer not to. And on to Friday evening, the Mayor's fundraising barn dance, and there's a few snacks there of an excellent evening. I think we wondered what we were letting ourselves in for halfway through, because the caller certainly put us through our paces, but it was a great event, and we had some of our friends there from the Regency as well, so it was great to be sharing that nugget with them on Friday evening. Still to come this week. Well, actually, I've joined Berkshire Vision's AGM this afternoon. They're a fine organisation with a lot of activities running across the whole county. Some really fascinating case studies and talks from visually impaired members of their community this afternoon. So I was most taken with that. We've got the Macmillan coffee mornings coming up, and I've got one there on Thursday. And Thursday evening, I believe, Councillor Jeffrey, you're covering the Lord Lieutenant's awards in Sandhurst for us. So that's September. Of course, lots coming up with the festival and various other things in October, but that's my report for September. Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Mayor.
I haven't got any exciting pictures on. I didn't even realise I was supposed to take pictures until Hayley told me, but I did get my picture in the Newbury Weekly News a few times. So yeah. So I've gone back to June because I wasn't here at the last meeting. I went to the 79th anniversary of D-Day landings at Greenham Control Tower, which is a very moving ceremony actually. The opening speech was given by the Mayor of Newbury, and next year is the 80th anniversary, so they're planning a really spectacular one, and they'd like as many councillors to go as possible, because they're going to try and get a flyover and all sorts. Yeah, that should be good. In July, I went to the United Service of Remembrance, and I think Mark's already mentioned that previously. It was a really good service. It was well attended. It was timely for me because I lost my sister this year, and speaking for myself, it was a really good, really supportive service. And I think, you know, from what others were saying, they found it really helpful too. Then in August, I went to the 5th anniversary of Greenham Control Tower. And it was really good meeting the volunteers. They're so hardworking and committed up there, you know, keeping that going. And we watched the Common People, which I believe is on during the Thatcham Festival, and I would highly recommend. It's interesting and it is also hilarious. It's really, really good. 2nd of August, we went to the carnival at Thatcham Court Care Home. It was spectacular. It was really, really good. They had a band there, they had ballet dancers, all of the staff were dressed up, they'd made floats. It was such fun. There were some pictures of me dancing, so I haven't got them up there actually. But all the residents seemed to enjoy it, and even the staff that you know weren't working came and brought their children in. It was really lovely. Really good time was had by all. And this week I went to Home Start's AGM, and that was really interesting because I knew of Home Start from working for the council previously, but I hadn't realised how many new projects they've got and how many vulnerable families that they actually help, not just in you know, the traditional ways that they've normally done, but also in terms of, you know, finance, having a baby bank, trying to help people out of poverty. And I did ask for the numbers of Thatcham families that, you know, that they help out, because I think that would be interesting to have, and they were going to get those to me. And I know that Petra's on the committee there, so I think that'd be useful to talk about maybe sometime in the council in terms of what they do for Thatcham families.
Okay.
So that's me.
Thank you very much. Yes, they're an excellent organisation. We should include that on the agenda. Right, thank you for your report. Approval and adoption of committee meetings. We can just go through these as usual. Obviously, if there's anything that needs to be flagged up, we can do that too. So item A, adoption of the minutes of the Recreation and Amenities Committee of the 21st of August.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor McCann.
Yeah. The pages aren't numbered, but I'm sure members will find it in the agenda. Shall we just do it in page 1? If the members any questions on that? I'm moving over to page 2, where there's a couple of resolved items there, Chair. And if members are happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think you're proposing those, Councillor McCann. Do we have a second for that? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. A planning and highways minutes of the 5th of September. We don't have Councillor Pike, but could somebody propose those for us? Councillor Penton, thank you very much. Do we have a second to that? Councillor Watts, thank you very much indeed. Events committee minutes of the 4th of September. More than happy to propose those from the chair. If we have a seconder for those. Thank you, Councillor Cole. All those in favour? Thank you. And the staff committee meeting minutes of the 26th of July and the 31st of August, which I can propose.
I would like to propose Mr. Mayor put forward, obviously with being a staff committee, everything is staff and therefore confidential, so the force are not detailed as one would expect.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Do we have a seconder for that? I'll second those. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. Okay, Northfield Road Post Office. Been going on for a little while. Did you bring us up to date on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So members will recall that we wrote to the post office and also the Tesco branch to seek some sort of feedback on the unexpected closure in May. We've received the response from the post office and as on the agenda there, it was a temporary closure, and hopefully those issues have now been resolved. Since publication of the agenda, so just to tag on to this item, I circulated to all members on Friday that we've received notification that it will be temporarily closing again whilst the Tesco store undergoes extensive building work. So the closure is from lunchtime on Thursday, the 19th of October, for approximately 6 weeks to Saturday, the 25th of November.
And this is for building work rather than.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any comment on that? Unfortunate, but it sounds as if it's rather essential to get that work done. Okay, thank you. Item 9, Thatcham Town Centre policing. Following a question regarding nighttime policing in the town, raised by a local resident and considered by the Town Centre Committee at its meeting on the 17th of July, to receive a response from Sergeant Joe Willoughby at our neighbourhood police team. And yes, Sergeant Willoughby and Inspector Sykes will be attending a meeting at the beginning of full council, I think probably just before full council. Yeah. On the 27th of November. So yes, we're just noting this information, and that conversation will continue. Councillor Cole.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just to say, we did ask Sergeant Willoughby, and she's very kindly coming along with Inspector Sykes. There were a few other items relating to policing. Councillor Pemberton raised one following the JMC of the Worthy, and there has been other little bits here and there. So they very kindly agreed to come along to answer the totality of councillors' queries and concerns.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Yes, it's a good opportunity to raise any questions with Sergeant Willoughby and Inspector Sykes. And it's good that we have that opportunity to cover the broader issues. So if we're just noting that. Okay, moving on to item 10, Thatcham Library building improvement works. And the ongoing conversation about the voluntary contribution made to West Berkshire towards the running costs of Thatcham Library for financial year 21-22. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. An awful lot has changed in 2 years since this resolution in 26th of July 2021. Not least, there is now a different controlling group at the West Berkshire Council. Added to which the scheme is not the scheme that we were described when we made that resolution. I'm not inclined to recommend that we approve this, and I'm wearing a Thatcham Town Council hat as I do that. It seems to me that the flaw in the system or in the policy of a library service relying on its base budget for voluntary contributions from parish and town councils was completely flawed. Yeah. If you get voluntary contributions from a parish town council, you add to the service, you do not rely on it to provide your minimum level of service, or your enhancements to a particular library. And so there is no appetite, even with the financial constraints that I'll talk about later in the reports from West Berkshire District Councillors, for the administration at West Berkshire Council to ask towns and parishes to contribute to library running costs or enhancements. And therefore, I would crave the indulgence of the council or the West Berkshire Council representatives to go back and look to get this work done without calling on the funds of this town council. I can't promise that, but I do see this as a capital item, and capital expenditure is somewhat easier than in-year revenue expenditure, as you know. So I cannot support that we simply release this money, but I would expect by the next full council meeting to have a much better response from West Berkshire Council as to what we may be able to do and to not have to call on that earmarked reserve. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Brooks. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very grateful to Brooks for his clarification, his advice on this matter. I would just remind existing councillors and inform new councillors that we as a council over the next 3 years will be giving I think it's a total of £14,000 to the Friends of Thatcham Library in 3 tranches for them to be able to enhance the facilities and the services given by Thatcham Library specifically, rather than perhaps the concern we had under the previous administration at West Berks was perhaps all this money was going into some pot. This we know is going to be specifically spent on Thatcham Library for Thatcham residents. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Cole. Do we have any further comments on that? We certainly look forward to a resolution of this, and I'm grateful to our feedback from councillor Brooks. And hopefully come the next meeting we'll be able to bring this one to a close. Item 11, Community Project Fund application, West Berkshire Action for Refugees. Due to time constraints for consideration by a committee, we're considering an application from West Berkshire Action for Refugees for funding for £300 from the Community Project Fund to run a Regency art group from the current balance of 8318. Oh, yes. What was that? Yes, I have had the opportunity to talk to some of those involved in this project, and I think it's great to see different supporting art and music groups in the community working with those at the Regency, and modest amount in view of the work that can be achieved there. Do we have councillor Cole?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I would just say since we welcomed the residents of the Regency to the town, it's just to remind ourselves that they have thrown themselves into assisting the community with VAN, doing the litter picking, and indeed with considerable support they've given to council events in litter picking and providing manpower. It seems to me, well, I know that there is not a huge amount for the individuals concerned to do. And the majority are highly educated, or well educated, very intelligent people. And it must be totally depressing to look at 4 walls every day. So I would certainly be in favour of this particular proposal.
Thank you, councillor Cole. Any other comments on that? Just to note as well that at the November full council meeting, the organiser of West Berkshire Action for Refugees will be joining us to give us an update on what's going on and a little bit more information. I think that would be a very interesting and useful session. Do we have a proposer for that?
Can I so propose?
Thank you, councillor Cole. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Jeffrey. All those in favour? Excellent. Thank you very much. Unanimous. Bank mandates. To receive a report from the finance manager to review current bank mandates and confirm updates. Actions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can tell, the finance manager is currently focusing on getting our bank mandates up to date. Some of the signatories on some of the accounts, as you'll see from the spreadsheet, are quite up to date. So this on the screen now is the current signatories on all of our accounts. And the finance manager is recommending that along. Signatories, so the NatWest signatories are as existing. So that should be relatively straightforward. And the signatories on the other accounts are members of the Investment Working Party. And also for myself and Miri to be an admin access so that we can have conversations with them, but we can't give any authority. But sometimes it's just useful to talk to the bank people, and unless you're named on the account, they won't speak to you. So.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on this? What are we being asked to do here? Just to agree that. Okay, Councillor Brooke.
Chairman, I'm sure we are going to agree them because they make absolute sense. I'm happy to propose that, by the way, but let me sit down. But I wonder what the regularity, the frequency of assessing these and considering these, because looking at some of the signatories, we're going back several years. And I would therefore, frankly, wish to see this done every couple of years, reviewed. Because to look back and see poor Roger Croft still a signatory, you know, and going back to Jason Collis, I think this needs updating far more often. So happy to propose, because I think it makes sense, but could I also propose that we look at this every 2 years, just a matter of rote?
Councillor Cole.
I would certainly agree with Councillor Brooks. On a slightly more sensitive note, I note that the majority of the NatWest trustees will be people who may well have been in receipt of long service awards for this council, let me put it as delicately as that, may not perhaps be seeking re-election in 4 years' time. Given that, I do indeed, Councillor Brooks. Given that the difficulty of actually getting mandates agreed, it's turgid. It really is not like in the days when you have proper bank managers in town. It might perhaps when we do review them, and I absolutely agree, once every 1 or 2 years is very appropriate. That next time we might perhaps seek nominations from the slightly
non-long service members.
Precisely. Pick the same terminology.
I think you mean Generation Young.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Cole. Yes, point well made. Do we have any other comments on that one? So Councillor Brooks, you were proposing that. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Cole. All those in favour? Thank you.
The resident who's joined remotely has raised his hand if you wanted to invite him to.
Oh, yes, yes, please. What's the cameras up there? Yes. Did you have a comment? Remote person? Oh, there we go.
Oh, yes, we've got no.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, I think.
Yeah, take your mute off.
Right, is that better? Can you see me and hear me now?
Yeah, indeed we can, yeah.
Yeah, I raised my hand during your very quick review of that application for funding for the Regency Park Hotel. Now, the Regency Park Hotel lies within the Chiefley and Coldash area. Is my understanding. It doesn't lie within the Thatcham Town Council area. I could refer you to the requirements for funding for the community scheme. I'm sure you're aware of the content of the web page. the application clearly comes from a commercial activity. The Regency Park Hotel remains as a hotel. There has been no planning application to change its use. Therefore, its occupation is commercial. And as such, it should be the commercial owner's responsibility to provide entertainment.
The application comes from West Berkshire Action for Refugees, not the.
Well, if you go and look at West Berkshire Action for Refugees charity registration, you will see what it is that they do as a charity, and it's all about refugees and asylum seekers, and it's nothing to do with providing anything to Thatcham and its residents. So in the application, I cannot see where it is proposed to deliver any benefit to the residents of Thatcham. I can see that it delivers some benefit to the residents of Chiefly and Cold Ashes Regency Park Hotel, but equally there is nothing in the application that proposes what will be delivered to the Thatcham community, where it will be delivered, or when it will be delivered.
Thank you. Councillor Jeffrey.
I want to make 2 points, Mr. Mayor, if I may. The first is that obviously the point that is being raised is very technical. Whether it is a valid point that's being made or not a valid point that's being made, the point itself is very technical as to the application of different elements of law and what we are or are not entitled to as a town council. As a result, I don't think we are in a position to make any kind of decision tonight on that.
I agree.
The second point that I'd like to make is that if the resident were not on Zoom, but were actually sitting here in the council chamber, it would be fairly unusual, even in an ordinary council meeting, for a member of the public to be allowed to speak, and even less usual in a full council meeting for a member of the public to speak. Now, the last thing I want to do is to discourage any member of the public from attending or to discourage them from having points and raising points. But there is a process that we go through. There is a formal process in the whole of this meeting that we're all aware of as councillors. And I think that we should take some thought offline, outside of this meeting, as to how we wish in the future to deal with a member of the public wishing to speak in a council meeting of any description, perhaps a committee meeting, and specifically with a full council meeting. But on the actual issue that's being raised, as a technical issue, and I would recommend, Mr. Mayor, that the council refers this to the clerk to go and get appropriate legal advice as to what can and can't be done.
Well, I agree. I also think.
Hang on, excuse me. You need to be asked to speak. Thank you. Now, Madam Clerk, is this something that you can shine any light on immediately as to the boundary, or something we need to research offline?
I'm not sure on the boundary, to be honest, what the hotel falls within, so I'd need to research that. But there's no, if council wished to grant the community project fund to this application, there's no reason why council can't do that.
Okay, thank you. So in view of the fact that grant has been made, I think we can proceed on that basis, but we can look into it for future consideration.
Well, I trust you will therefore be able to stand in front of the people of Thatcham and describe the benefits that are being delivered to them by this funding. What benefits are in the submission that you have assessed as worthy of funding to the residents of Thatcham? They are not residents of Thatcham if they're sitting within Chiefly and Cold Ash.
Thank you. Councillor Jeffrey.
Mr. Mayor, I wish to propose that we now move to the next item of business.
Thank you, Councillor.
Just one final point. This meeting will be available to all, won't it? A recording will be available to all.
It is recorded, yes.
To
It will
all
be
within
available to the whole town.
all within Thatcham, that'll be
I
fine.
asked you to ask whether there is a seconder for my motion that we move to the next item of business on the agenda.
Councillor Jeffrey, yes. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Brooks. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Brownlee, we're moving on to the next item.
Of course
The
you are.
meeting is in the public domain. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Good luck.
So we've covered the Premier bit. We're still on bank mandates. Completed bank mandate. Yeah, so it's item 13, yeah. Proposed change to frequency of planning and highways committee meetings to consider a recommendation for the town clerk and a number of key councillors that the planning and highways committee meetings frequency is amended from the current 3 weekly cycle to 4 weekly for a trial period. It's anticipated there'll be little impact on the planning application consultation response period, but it will be monitored through the trial. Councillor Pike isn't here with us this evening, but I know we had circulated some notes on that and has confirmed that he's happy to change it on a trial basis. So, were there any comments on that? Would somebody like to propose? Councillor Cole.
I'd certainly like to propose, Mr. Mayor, as you say, Councillor Pike is very firmly of the opinion that this can work on a 4 weekly basis. Other councils do operate on a 4 weekly basis. There may be the very odd occasion where, because of timings, there may be a need to call an additional meeting. But the anticipation is that such occasions would be rare, and I might suggest that we trial this for an unlimited period, but review in, say, 3 or 6 months' time to see how it is actually working.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Brooks.
I think I would agree with the trial and say a trial to review it. And I think perhaps before the next municipal year, so around about March, gives you about six months at least to see if we're getting into any tricky timing issues.
Yeah.
I'd have it a second.
Okay, thank you. So we have a proposer and a seconder.
I would propose, Chair, with Councillor Brooks's amendment, that we review this at the end of the year.
Thank you very much. Okay, with a proposal on the table, could I have all those in favour, please? Thank you. Excellent. So item 14, recommendation from the Events Working Party regarding the proposed 10K run, to consider a recommendation from the Working Party following its meeting on the 18th of September that the Town Council supports the introduction of a Thatcham 10K run, hopefully in the March-April 24 time period, managed by a community organisation, and that the Town Council would underwrite potential losses after an agreed sum. Councillor Hart, Councillor Brooks.
You're inviting Councillor Hart, who's done a lot of work on this, and I'm hoping he may take a couple of questions from me, or you may.
Absolutely.
These may come up at the events meeting, events working party. What will be the situation if we do not find a community organisation to run it? Because I'm concerned that it will fall back to the council having to run it, because we have set so many hairs running or people running that we suddenly are have to step up and run it ourselves. And what was the agreed sum?
Thank you.
I'll answer question 1 if you could answer question 2.
Yes,
Yep.
I'll Councillor Cole to answer question.
Cool. So on Wednesday this week, we will be meeting with people that are interested parties, people that I've spoken to over the last couple of weeks, and some new ones from the running community. There are some councillors as well joining me. And after a very good meeting last week, it became clear and apparent that to actually move it to a supported event, will benefit the council, because then it helps with the events team's capacity. And it's something that as a community we'll be able to obviously to get behind. And I have funding in motion from some businesses already, and who are coming on board. And then that way, hopefully, the loan stroke and the underwriting wouldn't actually be needed. This is the hope, actually, with all the entries, etc. And so our first meeting is going to be on Wednesday. I didn't want to announce anything until we've had that discussion last week here, just to confirm it. But one of them is going to be Melissa Hughes, who is was the CEO of Newbury Bid, amongst other people, including the teacher from the Kennet. I've got support already from themselves. They really want to get on board, and other interesting parties. Thatcham just so desperately needs its own identity run, and there are a lot of people behind this. It'll be a low key in terms of numbers, but hopefully this is something that will become an annual event. So the first inaugural event next year. The date we've just got to hash out, but we have got a couple of dates in mind before we can move forward. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Hart. Councillor Brooke.
I'm taken obviously with Councillor Hart's work he's done on this, tremendous enthusiasm, desire to make this happen. I don't think so, sir. You answer my question. And maybe you're not in a position to.
Okay.
But in the event we do not find a community organisation to run this, what is our stop loss position to say we cannot continue? If we don't get the funding up to an agreed amount that we're prepared to put forward to seed coin it, to pump prime it, to get it going, these are imponderables as I sit here now. And I think we should be firmer on our plan, but maybe I'm missing some information.
Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor.
Can I've got very great sympathy with the questions that Councillor Brooks is posing. I'd just like to add one additional question. 2024 in the spring is literally 6 months away. That's not an awful lot of time in organising events. What kind of problems would it cause if the organising group were to instead go for the spring of 2025 and having 18 months to actually roll into it? Might that be a better way of approaching it?
Okay, so Councillor Cole, were you coming in before?
I'm just coming in with the amount, which the proposal is £5,000. I think this is going to be a very quickly evolving scenario. The Events Working Party really came up with the thought process of the community organisation running it, based on conversations that Councillor Schiffer-Hart had already had with interested people, because this is something that I feel where some more specialist knowledge is required, purely and simply because you don't know what you don't know, and therefore there may well be some seed corn, if you like, funding, pump priming, call you what you will, to actually get things like risk assessments professionally done, etc. Hence the £5,000 request, proposal. Sorry, Councillor Schiffer-Hart has done an incredible amount in a very short time following that working party, which was only 2 weeks ago, to actually pull together the core of some people who have experience in these matters. I might propose that this goes back to an Events Working Party to do a review, say at the end of October, before any substantial sums more than say £500 are actually physically expended or committed. That may then hopefully mollify or answer some of the concerns from Councillor Brooks. I'll leave Councillor Schiffer-Hart, who knows far better than I do the reasons and timing, to answer Councillor Jeffrey's point.
Okay, thank you, councillor Cole. Before I come back to councillor Schiffer to answer about the dates and so on, councillor McCann.
Thank you. Yeah, the concerns are absolutely valid. That's public money. We have to make sure we're making the right decisions, delivering the right things. And we have to jump through hoops that other organisations wouldn't normally have to jump through. It has been a quick transition from June to date. There is time restraints. And you're absolutely right, we have to have a contingency plan for this year, and we'll probably have to have a contingency plan for next year, because that's what we do as responsible elected members of a council. It is going to go back, so once we make the decision tonight, that helps set the dates for the delivery of this project, because there is a long lead time in which is needed, and we've discussed this at previous meetings before. But by confirming that we're wanting to do this, it goes back to the working party to iron out the details on how it's delivered, and if there's red flags to be flown, it flies in there first, straight back to events, and then straight back to us. And we can be quite light of foot as a council when we need to be, and I'm sure this is the first big event that we have done, or we're proposing to do, and I'm quite sure if need be, we will be quite light of foot again, and we will be helping draft up a contingency plan for this year and for next year as well, because it may run for 3 years and we may not have to adopt it, but it's not unreasonable to have that contingency in the background there. That's all I'd really like to say to you.
All right, thank you, councillor McCann. I have councillor Brooks. Shall I go to councillor Brooks before I come back to you?
Yes,
Or
of course, yes.
yeah.
I'm glad to bite the cherry here, and I heard something today about people are either drains or radiators. And I certainly don't want to be a drain on energy here. I want to be a radiator, radiating goodwill and radiating good ideas. And Ben, councillor Schiffer has worked extremely hard on this. And all I'm looking to do is put some checks and balances in here. The Immense Working Party can't make decisions. And however fleet of foot we can be by getting committee together, may I suggest that £5,000 is helpful, councillor Cole, and I wouldn't demur from that. But that if we do not find a community organisation by the end of November, I suggest we review this. So that we give ourselves about 7 or 8 weeks to find a community organisation prepared to take on this great work with a support act, and we're not risking or exposing the council and its staff for having to step up and run it. I think we should persevere, councillor Jeffrey, to see if we could get it done in the spring of 24. But I think there's some imponderables or unknowns that we should be keeping an eye on in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Thank you, councillor Brooks. Councillor Schiffer.
Thank you very much for.
Already set up within the
Yeah,
next.
thank you very much for all the points on board. I would hope that it would be a lot earlier than November. But that would be a good time to give people the go, more information. Because if we take this on as a community project supported by the council, then we would hope we would take off the budgeting side of things. We'd be able to do the purchasing. We wouldn't have to rely on officer support. So there was obviously those constraints as well. There are the safety advisory group with recommendations from West Berkshire Council on the route. There are obviously landowners we need to speak to. There's certain routes that I already know of that I might not be able to do a part of it because of other things going on in the domain. But there are contingencies with that. In terms of having it as a low numbered event, it's something that can then expand with the people having already said they're interested on board, that they will be part of that group and then delegating various roles. So really by last week's meeting, instead of having it a council organised group, it's more of a council supported group led by myself as the race director. So we're taking that one on board and setting up a business really as I will do, and the Thatcham 10K, which would be fantastic, and having support already of unnamed sponsors that are heavily involved in the local area already. There's 3 already on board. Then I'm confident that there will be more when it comes to light. And the reasoning, going back to your question about the timing, Councillor Jeffries, is the spring is the time to do the races. There are some happening at the moment. The High Clear race is a Windsor one, is at the weekend, but this is the one that I feel, given the 2 dates that we have in mind, that they would benefit the local area quite well, and would fit in with other things that the Newbury 10K we don't want to get involved with that sort of date. And actually, I've had some really good advice from their race director, Jeff Bird, who's given me some absolutely huge advice, as well as other people. I've got somebody who organises events, you know, that's his day job as well, in Tom Bedford, who is Dave Bedford, the great runner's son. I've got the creme de la creme of race directors on my back, so are helping me out. So not just, you know, I've got the Jurgen Klopps, not the, you know, I'm trying to use analogies here. I have, without going in the other direction. But I'm using people that I've got vast experience organising London Marathon here that are helping me out. So just to help out with the tiny Thatcham 10K run, they can give me advice, as well as UK Athletics, the risk assessments. So Wednesday will be a really good time to hash out, right, what do we need to do that I haven't already thought of? Who can do those various roles? So I can lighten the load on me, but at the same time have a clearer overview. I hope I've answered your questions.
Thank you.
Just to be helpful, yeah. The 6th of November is a full events committee date, so that would be perfect.
Indeed it is.
So, but we should look at that as the final date, if you see what I'm saying, if that helps members.
Thank you, councillor McCann. Yes, if we've missed our major milestones by that point, we know that it's not going to be a goer for 2024. Councillor Jeffrey.
As you know, I wouldn't rise to speak unless it was something desperately important. So this chap is Dave Bedford's son. I used to work for Dave Bedford's father because he owned a petrol station in South East London, and I used to work in the petrol pumps when I was a university undergraduate. So I worked for your chap's grandfather.
Wonderful.
That's great. Oh, okay, so unless there are any other comments, we kind of need to move this forward to a proposal, I guess. Councillor Brooks, did you, as you're well experienced of phrasing these things, would you like to make a proposal that is ring fenced in the way that you wish it to be?
I'm going to propose that the council supports this initiative in principle, subject to a maximum financial exposure of £5,000 to the council, and that a community organisation be put in place with proper speed and at the latest by the 6th of November 2023.
Does that kind of second that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Jeffrey. All those in favour? Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, very exciting project, and yes, I would add my thanks to Councillor Schifferhart as well for the immense amount of work he's put into planning this event. Item 15, appointment of representatives of Thatcham Memorial Foundation. As the AGM is coming up, Councillor Cole is the current representative. Councillor Cole, are you putting yourself forward again?
I'm very willing to stand, Mr. Mayor, in that capacity.
Councillor Cole, Councillor Jeffrey.
Mr. Mayor, I think your question was definitely not the right one, but I would be delighted to propose that Councillor Cole should be our representative on the charity board.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? Yeah, Councillor McCann, all those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. So, reports from town councillors and district councillors. As I see you come up in both sections, Councillor Jeffrey, maybe you could take the town one as well, as I remember it was a very wet day and we didn't have too many callers at the other council staff.
Mr. Mayor, we didn't have, I don't know, actually, despite the rain, by the end of the session, I think we actually had quite a few. I don't know if there are any very special things that should be brought out of it. or indeed the one that Councillor Pettigrew and I had the subsequent month. But it was notable that there were plenty of people that were very happy to stop and have a conversation about the town and about issues within the town and concerning the town. And I know that there were some very specific things that came up, like the speeding traffic and the dock mess and all the rest of it, the need for more civil enforcement officers. But the message that we bring back to council is that an in-person event on a Saturday when people are going out shopping is still quite popular and does generate people being interested in having a conversation with you.
Thank you. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to ask a question of yourself and Councillor Jeffrey. A CEO in my world is a chief executive officer. Now, I'm sure Thatcham does need more chief executive officers. I would point out that the school, Kennett and Academies Trust does have an excellent chief executive officer. But I wonder what CEO in this context actually means.
Councillor Jeffrey.
I think they're called civil enforcement officers, and in your language and mine, they're traffic wardens.
Thank you.
I'm sure that covers item 1. Councillor Pemberton, did you want to add anything on item 2?
No, that's.
Very well. Moving on then to reports from West Berkshire District Councillors. Councillor Brooks.
Happy to feedback some points, Chairman, if I may. Quite a lot of work is going into the local plan. Local plan was submitted just before the election took place in April. We, as the new administration there, are now talking as a district council for a moment. I've been unhappy with certain points of that plan, and we're working with the Kennett School Academy Trust, the potential developers of the Northeast Thatcham development, and generally trying to understand what the proposition is to the people of Thatcham. How big would a secondary school be? How good would it be? How many primary schools would it be? What was absolutely lacking before that plan was put in was what were the infrastructure gain to the residents of Thatcham, not just the new residents would move into Northeast Thatcham, but those who've been here a long time and are impacted by those new residents. A lot of work going on that. I think it will be 3, 4, 5 months before we get to a point where we say there is now a very, very good proposition for the people of Thatcham and we can bring it to them, or there isn't a good enough proposition and we withdraw the plan. And that is how we're juggling it, being reported upon, because that is the situation. The second point I bring to your attention is it would seem almost a hardy annual that we find ourselves with budget pressures there. They're particularly severe because there are not great buckets of reserves. No. And when you have £8.7 million as a forecast overspend on a budget of about £160 million, so around about 5%, is that, yeah, about 5%. You struggle to have as much, you just about got enough reserves to cover it, but not much else, you know, so that's a challenge straight away. And for a new administration to enter the building and take over and find they're going to find £8.7 million, we're now down to £6.3 million overspent forecast, and we keep going with very tight financial controls having to be implemented. So a tough financial landscape, we're working our way through it. This week, at the next week, I beg your pardon, October the 5th, the new administration will launch its council strategy. And that will be in the public domain in the next few days. What do we want to do across the district? What do we want to deliver? And for the first time, the council will present its strategy for approval together with its delivery plan. This is the overarching themes that we want to improve, and here's how we're going to do it, and here's where we start, and here's where we want to get to. A real coordinated plan for the district over the next 3 years, 8 months, as it will be. You will also see, perhaps in the press this week, you may have seen it already, that people are being released. They're leaving the local hotel where asylum seekers have been. It's not a secret, it's the Regency Park Hotel. They have been accepted to be able to stay in the country, but now they are simply told, right, you can go.
To where?
You can go to where? Exactly that. You can go to where? So this is already putting a huge strain on a council that's got homeless people. It's got a huge housing list of people needing to be housed or rehomed, and suddenly there's an influx of new people. And balancing that and making sure that they're looked after, as well as the others, is a challenge, which we will work our way through. But we need some support from central government, because they could have, the path from the hotel into the society proper has not been helped by the procedures that have been taken place. And the other difficult one is, if we, and this sounds so counterintuitive, it's really tough. If we do just say to these people, come on out and we will house you, the danger is the residents of the district will suddenly be paying for lots of asylum seekers who decide to come to West Berkshire. Isn't that harsh? We are trying to say, please don't, we'll try and manage those who are in difficulty within our district, but they don't live in our district. And can you see what I'm getting at? That suddenly there are dozens of people who come here because of this bad transition process that the government is not put in place properly. We can face an ever increasing pressure. And this is very tricky. I share that with you, share that with people. Inna will know, and I think you were there this morning, Inna, as I understand, because I know where you go, Inna. I know where you go. And it will be in the press this week. Finally, on perhaps a happier note, Councillor Stevenson and myself, so I'm joined by Councillor Jeffrey, are working with a therapy centre on the potential for a hydrotherapy pool within the Frank Hutchings open space area. We have established that although the hall is owned by this council under a Section 106 agreement, all the public open space behind is still owned by West Berkshire Council. And we will, Councillor Jeffrey, I'll tell you now, with other district councillors, we are going to need to consider, are we prepared to effectively dispose of that land to the hydrotherapy centre? Now, even a long lease apparently is a disposal. We established this morning with the legal department. And so we, I think, as a town council, are very much in favour of this. And as a community facilitator, or not just Thatcham, but for the district, this could be exceptionally good. But there, and we have found what I think is a pathway through to that being delivered. So amongst my draining effect, I'm radiating.
Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Brooks. I don't want in any way to be partly political, but actually it sounds as though some business acumen is now being applied to West Berkshire, which is exceptionally good. I just on one small point that you made about the ownership of the land, I might suggest that you ask the clerk to relook at that, because I thought that was different, but no doubt the clerk will be able to clarify that.
The clerk tells us something different. The solicitors at West Berkshire told us unequivocally today that you could be a drain now. Because if we find that the clerk thinks Thatcham Town Council own it and West Berkshire Council think they own it, then our pathway is a bit muddy. Let's see what happens.
Don't worry, Mr. Mayor, I've been called worse.
for later.
Thatcham Town Council does own the land immediately behind the Frank Hutchins Hall, and West Berkshire Council own the covenant on that land.
Covenant.
I'm going to ask the clerk to put that in writing, to show me, because I was told today there are no covenants on the land and West Berkshire Council own the public open space. So, you know, I need clarity. And if you have clarity, Madam Clerk, I need it in my inbox. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Yes, sure, Madam Clerk will take that offline. Do we have any other district council reports? Okay, outside body reports. To consider a recommendation from the town clerk that to a delivery and receipt of reports from appointees, while outside body reports be presented to full council rather than committees as present. Let's tidy things up. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I personally, I consider this an eminently sensible thing. I don't wish to overload your full council meetings, Mr. Mayor. There is this oddity that not all of the representatives on various outside bodies are actually on the committee that they report to. So there's quite often an occasion when the report isn't there because it hasn't been submitted in writing and that person is not on that particular committee. So from that point of view, this proposal seems eminently sensible, provided obviously we don't massively overload the full council meetings.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other comments on that? Councillor McCann.
Yeah, thank you. Can we make sure they're in writing? Where possible, and we take them as noted. Otherwise, we're going to be delighted every time someone speaks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sorry. Bearing in mind Councillor McCann's comments there about making sure they're in writing, we have a proposal for that.
I would like to propose, Mr. Mayor, subject to councillors McCann's
Constructive suggestion.
constructive suggestion. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, and all those in favour? Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, that appears to be nothing overly. It means we come to the end of the meeting. So thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen.